PD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Israel says Rafah operation to continue until Hamas destroyed or first hostage returned. Hamas warns no ceasefire deal if military operation on Rafah continues. Adult film star Stormy Daniels testifies for the first time in Donald Trump's hush money trial. Witness testimony to continue on Thursday. World's record-breaking temperature streak extends through April. Abnormally warm conditions experienced despite continued weakening of El Nino effect. The Olympic torch will enter France on Wednesday when it reaches the southern seaport of Marseille. Torch bearers will carry the flame across Marseille on Thursday. All right, let's get you the updates on Israel-Hamas conflict first. A Hamas delegation arrived in Cairo from Qatar on Tuesday to follow up on Gaza ceasefire negotiations. It comes as Hamas leader Osama Hamdan warned in a press conference in Beirut that if Israel's military aggression continues in Rafah, there will be no ceasefire deal.
If the aggression continues, there will be no ceasefire because Israelis are the ones attacking and shooting. It is normal for the resistance to respond to this aggression, to respond in defense and to respond in order to defeat the occupation.
Negotiations towards the ceasefire deal resumed in Cairo after Israeli delegation, Hamas officials, mediators from Qatar and Central Intelligence Agency Director William Burns arrived in the Egyptian capital on Tuesday. All 5 delegations participating in ceasefire talks on Tuesday reacted positively to the resumption of negotiations. Talks are expected to continue on Wednesday morning. Hamas on Monday said it had agreed to a ceasefire pact that would involve an exchange of hostages abducted by the group on October 7th for Palestinian prisoners in Israel. But the group added conditions that Israel hadn't approved, including a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Hamas has since offered some amendments to their Monday proposal. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said Israel will continue its operation in the southern Gaza city of Rafah until Hamas forces in the area are destroyed or terrorists hand over one of the Israeli hostages it still holds. The Israeli Defense Minister visited Rafah area on Tuesday and met the commanders and soldiers operating there.
This operation will continue until we eliminate Hamas in the Rafah area and the entire Gaza Strip, or until the first hostage returns. We are willing to make compromises in order to bring back hostages, but if that option is removed, we will go on and deepen the operation. This will happen all over the Strip, in the south, in the center, and in the north. We know that Hamas only responds to force.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Tuesday that the ceasefire proposal accepted by Hamas falls far short of Israel's essential demands. In his remarks, Netanyahu also said that military pressure is still needed to return the hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza.
The Hamas proposal is very far from Israel's necessary requirements. Israel will not allow Hamas to restore its evil rule in the Gaza Strip. Israel will not allow it to restore its military capabilities to continue striving for our destruction. Israel cannot accept a proposal that endangers the security of our citizens and the future of our country.
The United States said it has been told that the Kerem Shalom crossing into Gaza will reopen on Wednesday. White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre said on Tuesday that Israel has committed to reopening the Kerem Shalom, one of the 2 main entryways for aid into Gaza, along with the Rafah crossing. Kerem Shalom remained closed on Tuesday. The U.S. pressed for the reopening of both Rafah and Kerem Shalom crossings to facilitate humanitarian aid.
Israel has committed to reopening the Kerem Shalom. That's a conversation, as you all know, from the readout that the president had with the Prime Minister of Israel, and we want to make sure that we get that done. We've been told that that's going to happen tomorrow. We are working to move that up. Fuel deliveries through Rafah should also commence tomorrow. That's what we've been told. And we believe Rafah border crossing should also be quickly reopened for the movement of humanitarian assistance. We are insisting that there should be no disruptions of humanitarian assistance flows.
U.S. President Joe Biden said there is no room for anti-Semitism in our world, speaking from a Holocaust memorial event at the Capitol. Previously, Biden emphasized that U.S. student protesters are allowed to exercise their freedom of speech against investment in Israel, but not to speak out against the country's existence. DD India's Caroline Malone gets us more from Washington.
US President Joe Biden spoke at a special Holocaust memorial event on Tuesday in Washington, D.C. At that event, he was talking out against anti-Semitism. He reflected on the events in history that led to 6 million Jews dying during the Holocaust and said that people will never forget, he will never forget, and those events must never be repeated, must never happen again. He said, though, there is still some hate in the world, and he said, as an example, we saw that hate displayed during the Hamas attack on October 7th of last year, and he said that the US in particular must continue to move against anti-Semitism. He connected all that to what we're seeing on student campuses, saying there's been illustrations of anti-Semitism, particularly with some of the students calling for the end of the state of Israel, and says there should be no tolerance for that. Now, the White House has released a number of initiatives to move against this type of hate speech, calling for more examples being given to the Department of Education to share with schools and institutions, calling for counter-terrorism policies to be shared by the Department of Homeland Security, and also working with a special envoy against anti-Semitism nationally. It is a difficult time, though, for Biden, as he's about 6 months away now from another election in which he is bidding to be president again. The young voters who are at these schools, the students, are an important demographic for him to gain the support of. They appear, of course, to be not happy, although they're just a small proportion of the wider student and youth population. There's also an older generation who's been watching what's been happening on campuses, seeing the police clear out protesters in some cases, not being happy with violence that's erupted in places such as UCLA in the last week or two. So that will be an important part of how people decide to vote going forward in November's election. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
All right, let's get you updates on the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Now, Ukrainian forces attacked an oil storage depot and sparked a large fire, injuring 5 people late on Tuesday on the outskirts of the Russian-held city of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine, the region's Russia-installed leader said. He later reported that 5 employees of the depot were taken to hospital. All units from the local division of Russia's emergencies ministry were deployed to put out the fire and keep the nearby buildings safe. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday that the island state of Cape Verde had become the first African country to agree to attend a World Peace Summit aimed at finding a solution to Ukraine's more than 2-year-old war against Russia. The summit, to which Russia has not been invited, is to take place in Switzerland on June 15th and 16th, and Ukraine hopes to marshal broad support to persuade Moscow to agree to the terms that Kyiv deems acceptable. The president, who made a brief stopover in Cape Verde last year on his way to Argentina, also mentioned the conversation in his nightly address as a step in organizing the June gathering.
Коротко про цей день. Перший фронт.
Every continent will be represented at our summit in Switzerland. Different nations, small or large, those who have clearly shown their support for international law and those who will do so.
З військовими.
U.S. President Joe Biden praised Romanian President Klaus Iohannis on Tuesday for his leadership and for providing security assistance during the war in Ukraine during a meeting at the White House. Romanian President Klaus Iohannis said that he was open to discussing sending a Patriot system to Ukraine after German appeals to European Union and NATO member states to bolster Ukraine's air defense. Iohannis added that allies have to find ways to prevent Russia from winning the war in Ukraine.
Find ways to prevent Russia to win this war in Ukraine. And here we have to stay united, we have to work together, and we will, as far as I can see.
The White House said on Tuesday that there are 2 separate cases of U.S. citizens being detained in Russia, and the State Department is seeking consular access to both of them. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters the State Department is seeking consular access to both the individuals.
What I also can confirm is that there are 2 separate cases of U.S. citizens being detained in Russia. The State Department is actively seeking consular access to both individuals, neither of whom were in Russia on behalf or in affiliation with the U.S. government. We take seriously our commitment to assist U.S. citizens abroad and provide all appropriate assistance.
European aviation safety experts are cautioning about the rising threat of GPS interference affecting commercial flights in the continent. Finland's Finnair has been forced to suspend some services due to pilots receiving false information. Multiple European governments are blaming Russia for jeopardizing passenger safety as part of a broader hybrid war tactic against the NATO countries. DD India's correspondent Trent Murray reports from Berlin on this.
As Europe's airports prepare for the peak summer season, industry experts are sounding the alarm over new safety concerns. Incidents of so-called GPS spoofing have skyrocketed in recent months. Experts say the deliberate manipulation of satellite signals can trick an aircraft's computer systems to navigate off course, the false data overriding its real location. These Flight Radar 24 maps show the scale of the problem, the issue particularly concentrated around Eastern Europe and the Baltics. Captain Janis Kristops is the safety manager at the region's flag carrier Air Baltic. He told DD India the airline's pilots are increasingly noticing their GPS instruments being jammed mid-flight.
GPS signal is coming from satellites positioned on very high just an orbit around the globe and reaching ground as a quite weak radio signal. And this weak radio signal is very easy just to, let's say, mask, to, let's say, make interference, to cut it off and to spoof it. Speaking about like last 3 or 4 months, yes, we can see that this is rising.
While Europe's airlines have steered clear of calling out a culprit, the continent's politicians have not. The foreign ministers of Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania have all blamed Russia, saying it's no coincidence the aircraft's signal interference is spiking near Russia's borders, and they've turned to the EU for help.
As you will certainly understand, it is difficult for us to comment on specific incidents, also given that they have security implications. But in general, what I can tell you about this issue is that, of course, the Commission condemns any purposeful disturbance of civil air traffic. When it comes to the passenger safety aspect of your question, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency is closely monitoring the situation and also assessing any occurrences that are reported to EASA.
Members of NATO are increasingly calling out Russia for what they describe as an intensifying campaign of hybrid warfare activities against European countries, including espionage, misinformation campaigns and electronic interference. The alliance leadership accusing Russia of trying to deter allies from continuing to support Ukraine. But one of the alliance's biggest members, Germany, says it's having the opposite effect. The country's foreign minister calling out Moscow by name during a recent visit to Australia where she discussed recent cyber attacks.
Russian state hackers have attacked Germany in cyberspace. This is completely unacceptable and will not remain without consequences.
But while the political back and forth takes place, for passengers in European skies, the threat remains. Airlines have been at pains to stress that backup systems remain in place if GPS signals are jammed. But for the travelling public, it's a potent reminder that the arena of modern war can now extend far beyond a traditional front line. putting at the forefront new threats to travel that can exist as a result of our ever-growing reliance on technology and connectivity. Trent Murray for DD India, Berlin.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, woes of Donald Trump lessen, at least for now, as his classified documents trial gets indefinitely postponed. A submerged plane and runway underwater in southern Brazil after heavy rains lashed the city of Porto Alegre. And massive donation of fossils for fire-affected Rio Museum.
Tracking the fourth phase of general elections, Team Poll Pulse has reached Telangana, the youngest state of India. Here in capital Hyderabad is being witnessed a high voltage contest. Four-time MP Asaduddin Owaisi of AIMIM is challenged by Madhavi Lata of the BJP. Congress and the BRS are also in the fray.
It's very important youth makes the correct choice and votes for the right person.
अगर वोटिंग करते हैं तो अपने मतलब का गवर्नमेंट लेके आ सकते हैं. स्थिर सरकार आने से प्रोग्रेस बढ़ेगा भारत सरकार का.
Join us as we track the pulse of Indian democracy. Watch Poll Pulse on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. In more international updates, the adult film star Stormy Daniels testified in a Manhattan court about her alleged relations with former President Trump, which he denies. She also spoke about the hush money she received to keep quiet about it. Trump is facing charges of falsifying business records before the 2016 election and has entered a plea of not guilty to 34 charges. DD India's correspondent Sally Patterson gets us more details.
Speaking to reporters outside a Manhattan courthouse, Donald Trump once again slammed the so-called hush money case he's at the center of. He said that the case is totally falling apart. That's at the end of a day of explosive testimony from adult film star Stormy Daniels. She claims to have met Donald Trump in 2006 at a golf tournament, and she said she was invited to his hotel room where they had dinner together, and then she says they had a sexual encounter. Donald Trump has repeatedly denied ever having a relationship with Daniels. Now, at the heart of this case is how that payment, which was later made to Stormy Daniels in order to keep quiet about that alleged affair, was filed. Michael Cohen, who was once Trump's lawyer and fixer, allegedly paid $130,000 to Daniels to keep quiet about that affair. Then Trump's team allegedly paid back that money to Cohen and filed it as legal expenses. The prosecution alleges that that was illegal and shouldn't have happened. Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 34 different criminal counts of falsifying business records and says that this is a politically motivated attack by his opponents to try and keep him out of the White House. Sally Patterson in New York reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, Trump's classified documents trial has been indefinitely postponed. The trial is underway in Florida on charges of illegally keeping classified documents after leaving office. Previously, he was scheduled to go to trial on May 20th. The judge, however, scheduled pre-trial hearings to run through July 22nd. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 40 federal counts. The development greatly reduces the odds he will face a jury in either of the two federal criminal cases against him before the November 5th U.S. election. After his France tour, Chinese President Xi Jinping started his state visit to Serbia on Tuesday at the invitation of President Alexander Vučić. Upon his arrival, Xi Jinping in a statement expressed readiness to work with Serbian president to map out a new blueprint for development of the bilateral relations. He will hold in-depth exchange of views with President Vučić on bilateral relations and other issues of common concern. Comprehensive strategic partnership was established between the two countries in 2016. Xi's state visit to Serbia is the second leg of his three-nation European tour from May 5th to 10th. Next, he will visit Hungary. Japan, China and South Korea are preparing to hold a three-way summit in Seoul on May 26th and 27th. This will be the first such meeting since December 2019. The three Asian countries were unable to hold a trilateral summit due to a deterioration in Japan-South Korea relations and the COVID pandemic. The meeting is expected to bring together Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang. Their discussions are seen covering 6 areas, including people-to-people exchanges, economy and trade, public health, and peace and security, with outcomes documents likely to be released. Bilateral talks may also take place. Britain's Home Office said border control systems are operational after an outage that it deemed was not a cyber attack led to lengthy queues and chaotic scenes at airports nationwide. Britain's biggest airport, Heathrow, said all of its border control systems were running as usual and that it expected no issues when operations restart in the morning. Long queues built up at British airports on Tuesday night after the border force suffered a nationwide technical issue. Britain's biggest airports, including Heathrow, Stansted and London Gatwick in southern England, Manchester in northern England and Edinburgh in Scotland, earlier said that they were aware of a nationwide problem and that staff were working with border force officials to resolve it. The world just experienced its hottest April on record, extending an 11th-month streak in which each month was the hottest recorded month on record, says the EU. Scientists have already confirmed climate change-caused weather extremes in April, including heat waves in the Asian countries. In April, the world's average temperature reached 1.61 degrees Celsius, above the average of 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial period record. Recognizing the urgent need for action, experts have expressed the alarming needs to monitor and take call for climate crisis. In more weather updates from across the world, southern Brazil has been hit by the worst floods in more than 80 years, with at least 90 people dead, over 130 people missing and 150,000 of them homeless. A plane and runway remain underwater after heavy rains lashed the city of Porto Alegre, while the Beira Rio Stadium was turned into a muddy pool. Flooding from storms has destroyed roads and bridges in several cities, while triggering landslides and the partial collapse of a dam at a small hydroelectric power plant. Weather conditions improved on May 6th, but showers are expected to return at lower volumes later this week and could pick up again between May 10th and 15th. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva asked Congress on Monday to recognize a state of public calamity for the heavy rains. Brazil's football giants, including Neymar, Vinicius Jr. and Ronaldinho, are rallying behind a fundraising effort for victims of devastating floods in the country. Former Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain forward Neymar shared a video on Tuesday showing his private jet being filled with crates of water bottles and other supplies. Using their huge social media presence, the stars of Brazil's most popular sport have joined hands with local club players who have used their own jet skis to help people escape waters that have completely inundated entire towns. Neymar also endorsed a call for donations led by Brazilian Football Federation, saying helping is never too much. In the U.S., a swarm of tornadoes touched down overnight in Oklahoma that killed at least one person and injured at least 5 as they flattened homes and ripped down trees in the northeast corner of the state. The persisting havoc destroyed around 40 homes, a natural gas leak in Bansdall. Thousands of homes and businesses were left without power in Oklahoma in the United States. A barrage of severe storms swept through various parts of the United States on Tuesday, unleashing heavy rains, strong gusts of wind and tornadoes across the region. Multiple tornadoes touched down in southern Michigan that caused damage to several buildings. The wave of severe weather came right after a series of tornadoes that hit Oklahoma the previous day, resulting in at least 1 fatality and 5 injuries. The combined impact of climate change and humans are providing double trouble for wild urban-dwelling bird species in Australia. Australia is vulnerable to the effects of global warming projected for the next 50 to 100 years because of its extensive arid and semi-arid areas and already warm climate, affecting not just birds but all the wildlife. It is crucial for conservation efforts to address these dual challenges to protect biodiversity. Japan is too trying to fight wildfires. Helicopters continue to pour water on the mountains around Nanino City in Yamagata Prefecture to douse the flames that ignited on May 4th. Over 135 hectares of forest land has been affected due to wildfire. Over 400 residents living in 2 districts near the site of the fire have been ordered to evacuate. The cause of the bushfire is currently under investigation, but authorities in Nanyo City attribute dry weather to the spread of the fire. Several areas of Chile Santiago metropolitan region experienced rare snowfall on Tuesday. Authorities have advised locals in the region to dress accordingly and drive carefully. According to authorities, around 225,000 people are currently experiencing electricity supply issues. While snow in the capital is not unheard of, in July 2020, snow appeared in the eastern part of the capital. In July 2017, Santiago residents woke up to rare snowfall that blanketed the capital and caused widespread power outages. Tokyo Disney Sea is opening a new area in June that celebrates popular films such as Frozen. The section is called Fantasy Springs and it was unveiled to the media on Tuesday. The theme park operator Oriental Land says that the area spans 140,000 square meters. It is the largest expansion of the Disney Sea since the park opened in 2001. The expansion cost $2 billion. The company expects the new section to boost the sale by an additional 10%. A quick look at other stories bringing you to the headlines from across the world now. Thai anti-human trafficking police arrested an American who fled a 25-year jail sentence in the United States for kidnapping, human trafficking and other crimes. The 37-year-old fled to Thailand and was running from the police for the last 3 months. World observes Red Crescent Day, also known as the World Red Cross Day. This day marks the spirit of humanitarianism and recognizes the individuals who make a difference in their communities. The idea for World Red Cross came after the First World War with the motive to stop humanitarian crisis and empower to peace. A Rio museum that was engulfed by fire has received a massive donation of fossils for rebuilding its collection for the public. Now, a donation of over 11,000 Brazil fossils is helping to bring the museum back to life. Among the donated pieces are dinosaur skeletons that experts say provide unique insight into paleontology in South America. John Krasinski says that he made his new film If for his children. The live-action and animated fantasy comedy is written and directed by Krasinski, who also plays the main character's father and voices the character Marshmallow in the movie. The imaginary friend fantasy film If starts its global cinematic rollout on 8th of May. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, India records 64.4% voter turnout in the third phase of polling, campaigning for fourth phase at its peak. World Thalassemia Day is observed every year on May 8th to raise awareness around this genetic disorder. And breaking down barriers, man without hands gets a four-wheeler license in Chennai.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories once again. Israel says Rafah operation to continue until Hamas destroyed or first hostage returned. Hamas warns no ceasefire deal if military operation on Rafah continues. Adult film star Stormy Daniels testifies for the first time in Donald Trump's hush money trial. Witness testimony to continue on Thursday. The world's record-breaking temperature streak extends to April. Abnormally warm conditions experienced despite weakening of El Nino effect. The Olympic torch will enter France on Wednesday when it reaches the southern seaport of Marseille. Torchbearers will carry the flame across Marseille on Thursday. And now we get to the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Campaigning for the fourth phase of Lok Sabha elections, scheduled for May 13th, gains momentum as political leaders are holding rallies and roadshows across the country. In order to garner support for voters in favour of their parties, leaders are crisscrossing the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting Telangana, where he will address a public rally in Karimnagar. He, in fact, addressed a rally in Karimnagar. He said that opposition in Telangana has already accepted defeat as people have decided to bless BJP with record numbers. After Karimnagar, Prime Minister will also hold a public meeting in Warangal. Earlier, upon his arrival, he offered prayers at Sri Raja Rajeshwara Swami Temple. Later in the day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold rallies in Andhra Pradesh's Rajampet and Vijayawada.
ज्येष्ठाय नमः श्रेष्ठाय नमः रुद्राय नमः कालाय नमः कलविकरणाय नमः बलविकरणाय नमः बलाय नमः बलप्रमथनाय नमः स्वरबोधमनाय नमः मनोन्मनाय नमः विद्यादामीश्वरः सर्वभूतानां ब्रह्माधिपतिः ब्रह्मणोऽधिपतिः लोकाः समस्ताः श्रीमेधासावित्री विजयानिका देवदेना सुरामि नमस्करोमि कात्यायनाय विद्महे शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके देवे नारायणे नमोस्तुते कल्पमानं प्रकल्पमानमुपकल्पमानमुपक्लृप्तं क्लृप्तं श्रीदेवपदीयराजत्सम्भोगं.
Leaders from other political parties are also leaving no stone unturned to garner support for their respective candidates and their parties. Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi will campaign in Hyderabad, which is scheduled to go to polls on May 13th. To seek votes in the party candidates' favour, Samajwadi Party Supremo Akhilesh Yadav will hold public meeting in Uttar Pradesh's Farrukhabad. BSP Supremo Mayawati removed her nephew Akash Anand as her political heir and party's national coordinator. In a series of tweets, Mayawati, along with promoting other people in the party, said that she was removing her nephew Akash Anand as her political heir and the party national coordinator until he attains maturity. He has been named her successor barely 6 months ago. 11 states and territories voted on Tuesday in the third phase of Lok Sabha elections amid searing temperatures. May 7th witnessed peaceful polling and the voter turnout was recorded at 64.4%. A provisional voter turnout of around 61.5% has been recorded, with the highest polling witnessed in Assam, despite overcast skies and light rainfall in most areas. With this, polling is over in 20 states and union territories, covering 283 Lok Sabha seats. Repolling is underway at Doordarshan village in Rajasthan's Barmer Lok Sabha constituency, following the complaints made about the breach of secrecy during the polling in the second phase on April 26th. Repolling will be held till 5 in the evening for 1,294 voters registered at the polling station. 75 international delegates from 23 countries visited many polling stations in 6 states on Tuesday to witness India's poll process. Their first-hand observation encompassed the dispatch of polling materials and machines to polling teams, illuminating the procedural intricacies of the electoral process. Expressing admiration for scale and transparency of operations, the delegates also commended the palpable festive spirit pervading the voting populace. India's Election Commission is leaving no stone unturned to encourage the people of the country to step out and vote. Our correspondent tells us more about interesting awareness campaigns taken up by the Election Commission of India in India's northern city of Srinagar. Take a look.
In a bid to increase awareness among citizens regarding their duty to exercise their franchisee, a street play or Nukkad Natak was organized at Polo Ground in India's Srinagar under Election Commission's flagship program Sweep.
We left no stone unturned to reach to the masses by Nukkad Natak, by plays, by Rangoli competitions, by all the, especially young youth, they have participated here, and in the shape of rallies or snow scooters or whatever innovative ideas we have found or district election officers have found.
Such light-hearted awareness programs are being organized by India's election body in the entire valley. Importance of voting is being explained through street plays, songs, music and many other ways.
Through Nukkad Natak, we are trying to communicate with the locals here that we have the right to vote, and why should we just think that it is not workable at all. This is vote is our right and vote is our voice right now. We shall vote. We shall think about for the future generations. We shall think about for the tomorrow. It's better to vote today.
The initiative is being highly appreciated in Srinagar, especially by the youth.
This time I am feeling really happy that people are coming out. They have the political knowledge, which we are not having before. And I request people on our party's behalf that come out and vote this time, because this is the high time that we should go for voting.
Sweep is ECI's awareness program for voter education, promoting voter literacy in India and ensuring active participation in the upcoming elections in the valley as well. Rama Tyagi for DD India.
All right, let's get to other updates now. In response to media queries regarding the float in the Nagar Kirtan parade in Malton, Canada, India's External Affairs Ministry expressed concern with violent images that were used against India's political leadership. Similarly, a float depicting the assassination of former Indian Prime Minister was also used in a procession last year. Display of posters of Indian diplomats have also been put out across Canada, threatening violence against them. India strongly stressed that celebration and glorification of violence should not be part of any civilized society, and called upon the Government of Canada to stop providing criminal and secessionist elements a safe haven and political space in Canada. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Maldives, Musa Zamir, will be in India on an official visit on Thursday. During his visit to New Delhi, Foreign Minister Zamir will meet the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar for discussions on bilateral and regional issues of mutual interest. Maldives is India's key maritime neighbour in the Indian Ocean region, and Foreign Minister Zamir's visit is expected to lend further momentum to the bilateral cooperation between the two countries. This will be the first official visit of Foreign Minister Zamir to India since assuming office. The visit comes as India has said that it will replace its military personnel from Maldives before May 10th. After the West Nile fever reported in 3 districts in South Indian state of Kerala, the state health authorities have issued an advisory on mosquito control measures. The West Nile fever has been reported in Malappuram, Kozhikode and Thrissur districts. In Kozhikode, 5 cases have been reported and 4 are already discharged. No hotspots have been reported in the district as per authorities. So far, 1 death has been confirmed in Thrissur district. The state government has ordered all districts to be vigilant and issue directives to take mosquito control measures by stepping up pre-monsoon cleaning drives and surveillance activities. The disease was first reported in the state in 2011 and had claimed a life in its recurrence in 2022. While in India's hill state of Uttarakhand, forest fire continues to rage. Air Force chopper on Tuesday resumed its operation on the second day to douse the forest fire near Advani village in Pauri Garhwal district. The operation was delayed due to thick smoke which engulfed the town of Srinagar. As forest fires continue to pose a serious threat, the state government has banned the burning of crop residue and stubble in the fields with immediate effect and warns legal action. Taking note of the raging forest fire, Supreme Court will hear the cases against the origin of forest fires. Over 1,000 hectares of forest land have been destroyed across Uttarakhand since November last year. World Thalassemia Day is observed every year on May 8th to raise awareness around this genetic disorder and support those who are struggling with it. Take a look at this detailed report. World Thalassemia Day is observed annually on May 8th to highlight the global impact of thalassemia and the ongoing efforts to support individuals affected by this inherited blood disorder. Thalassemia is a genetic blood disorder which occurs when the body is unable to produce enough hemoglobin, a protein in the red blood cells. Diagnostic tests confirm thalassemia types and severity. Prenatal diagnosis can help understand the status in the womb. Pre-implantation genetic testing is also done, where embryos can be screened and the healthy embryo can be implanted. The early detection of thalassemia during pregnancy via blood tests of both the parents can help reduce the population of those born with thalassemia. Additionally, early diagnosis of thalassemia makes treatment easier. Observing World Thalassemia Day increases awareness about the disease and automatically aids its prevention. With inputs from Kiran Bhardwaj for DD India. And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. India's Delhi High Court will hold an important hearing today on the bail plea of Delhi's former Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. On the last hearing, the High Court had issued notice to Enforcement Directorate and Central Bureau of Investigation and sought their reply. Besides, the court had also allowed Manish Sisodia to meet his wife once a week while in custody. 18 underprivileged students clenched history by passing the JEE Phase 2 exam. The core catalyst behind this achievement was the coaching provided by Petronet Super 30, a noble initiative spearheaded by the Indian Army's White Knight Corps. A 30-year-old amputee from Chennai who lost both of his hands broke down barriers and became the first person in Tamil Nadu to obtain a driving license. Tansen, who is an inspiration to others, lost both of his hands due to an electrical accident during his childhood. Tansen uses his legs to operate the car. Alright, a true example of will and determination there. Up next, a short break. But after the break, US stocks climb on solid earnings to a 4th straight higher close and its best winning run since March. Delhi Capitals shock Rajasthan Royals by 20 runs in IPL clash on Tuesday. Yuzvendra Chahal sets a new record too. Stay with us to know more. Drone and fireworks displays celebrate the imminent arrival of Olympic flame at Marseille's Old Port.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India. Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. After the break, you're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get to updates from the world of business now. The S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average both clung onto gains to close higher on Tuesday. The advances pushed the S&P 500 to a fourth straight higher close and its best winning run since March. For the Dow, it is now on its longest positive run since December 2023, gaining for the fifth season in a row. Generally, the Fed and policymakers have been consistent in their message in recent weeks that rate cuts will come, but the central bank is going to be more cautious in implementing them. The message was repeated on Monday by Federal Reserve Bank of New York President John Williams and Richmond Federal Reserve President Thomas Barkin. Asian stocks lagged direction on Wednesday. Japan's Nikkei slumped about 1% as traders took profits following the previous season's 1.6% surge. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan slid 0.19%, weighed down partly by declines from maritime Chinese blue chips. Also, Hong Kong's Hang Seng rose 0.52%. Tensions remained high on the streets of Argentina on Tuesday as riot police were deployed against a protest march seeking to head to the president's residence of Olivos. Protesters from trade unions and other social movements faced off with police. Organizations have called for a national strike on May 9th against President Javier Milei's sweeping reform bill ahead of a vote of the Senate. While Milei believes the bill will rev up the embattled economy and tamp down inflation.
Que la policía provincial no actuó y la policía federal y la gendarmería.
Borussia Dortmund entered the Champions League final by a 2-0 aggregate win over Paris Saint-Germain on Tuesday. Dortmund showed great composure to reach their third Champions League final and first since 2013 after Mats Hummel's second half goal earned a 1-0 victory on the night. Dortmund will now meet either 14 times champions Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, who clash at the Bernabeu on Wednesday after a 2-each draw in the first leg. The final showdown is on 1st of June at Wembley. Next week, Michael Schumacher's family plans to auction off his personal luxury watch collection. Corinna Schumacher, his wife, reportedly initiated the decision, having previously sold other assets. The watches, described as unique pieces, will be auctioned by Christie's in Geneva on May 13th.
Michael Schumacher's family plans to auction off the legendary German F1 driver's personal luxury watch collection next week. This development comes amidst ongoing mysteries surrounding Schumacher's health following a severe brain injury sustained during a skiing accident in 2013. The decision to auction off Schumacher's watches is reportedly being driven by his wife, Corinna, aged 55, who has earlier sold other family assets including Schumacher's private jet and a house in Norway. Remy Guillemin, head of watches at Christie's Europe, said that timepieces stray from commercialized design since they were specially made and previously unavailable to the public.
It's a
around 160 watches, of which 8 have belonged to the icon Michael Schumacher, Formula One racing driver and multiple driving world champion of Formula One. These watches include timepieces such as an Audemars Piguet, as well as an FP Journe, which each commemorate a specific driver's championship that he won and that were gifted by Jean Todt to Michael Schumacher. Jean Todt was his team principal of the Scuderia Ferrari, and Jean Todt and Michael were kind of both instrumental in assisting Ferrari to win multiple championships in Formula One.
The upcoming auction, to be held on May 13 in Geneva, Switzerland, by a British auction house Christie's, will feature 8 watches from Schumacher's collection. Notably, 2 of these watches are custom-made gifts from Jean Todt, close family friend and former Ferrari boss.
The watches that we're offered are not only, memorabilia in the sense that they belong to Michael Schumacher. They are actually very specific and, for the most part, in essence, unique watches. The Audemars Piguet wristwatch is a wristwatch that was made with Michael Schumacher in mind, and that, does not exist anywhere else.
Schumacher sustained a brain injury after suffering a severe head trauma during a skiing accident in 2013. Schumacher's health remains private, with his wife stating in a 2021 documentary that they are focused on his recovery. Sports Desk, DD India.
All right, let's talk of cricket now. Delhi Capitals defeated Rajasthan Royals by 20 runs in the IPL clash on Tuesday. Rajasthan captain Sanju Samson kept Rajasthan's 222-run chase going after the loss of Riyan Parag, Jose Butler and Yashasvi Jaiswal. Earlier, Yuzvendra Chahal became the first Indian to take a 350 T20 wickets record after scalping Delhi captain Rishabh Pant. There was also a first for Delhi Capitals opener Jake Fraser-McGurk, as he became the first player in IPL to score 3 half-centuries in less than 20 balls. Sunrisers Hyderabad will take on Lucknow Super Giants in New Delhi today. Sunrisers Hyderabad will be looking to return to winning ways as they take on Lucknow Super Giants in the Indian Premier League on Wednesday. SRH started their season with a bang, breaking multiple batting records in IPL history. The Pat Cummins-led side, however, is currently going through a rough patch with 3 defeats in their last 4 matches. Hyderabad lost consecutive matches to Royal Challengers Bengaluru and Chennai Super Kings before winning 1 against Rajasthan Royals. LSG has also performed quite well this year, constantly hovering in the top 4 of the points table. The Olympic flame is set to arrive in the French port of Marseille on Wednesday in front of a crowd of up to 150,000 people. The transfer of the flame on shore from a 19th century tall ship will mark the start of a 12,000 kilometers torch relay across mainland France and the country's far-flung overseas territories. Organizers are excited for the first public spectacle of the much-hyped iconic Olympics, which are just 79 days away from now. The Olympic torch journey began after being lit on April 16th in ancient Olympia. The torch was then carried around Greece before leaving Athens aboard a 3-mast ship named Bellum. More than 800 drones formed different shapes over the Mediterranean cities Viewport to celebrate the upcoming arrival of the Olympic flame at Marseille's Old Port in southern France, where the Olympic torch is set to land on Wednesday. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Now, this app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.